There is a classified directive called Presidential Emergency Action Documents, PEADs. No one voted for them. They appear in no law you have ever read, and they have existed in secret since 1948, signed by every president from Truman to Biden, authorizing powers that no court has ever reviewed and that no member of Congress has been allowed to read in full. Here is what they are, plainly. PEADs are pre-drafted executive orders held in classified files inside the executive office of the president that activate when the president declares a national emergency under the continuity of government plan. They are not theoretical. They are written, numbered, signed, and ready. When the right emergency is declared, they take effect. They cover the suspension of habeas corpus, the commandeering of communications infrastructure, the relocation of federal authority away from Congress. None of these documents have ever been published. None have ever been debated on the floor of any legislature. They exist because someone decided they should, and they remain because no mechanism exists to make them stop. The lineage begins with the National Security Act of 1947. That law created the National Security Council and authorized the president to issue classified national security directives with no congressional approval required. The first PEADs were drafted under Truman in 1948 by planners preparing for Soviet nuclear attack. The logic was sound in extremis. If Washington is destroyed, someone needs authority to govern what remains. But the documents were never written to expire. No sunset clause, no provision requiring reauthorization, no mechanism for legislative or judicial oversight. They were drafted by executive branch lawyers, classified at the highest level, and updated quietly by each successive administration. No vote was ever taken. No statute ever formally authorized them. They exist inside a legal gray zone created by executive interpretation of executive power, a circle that closes on itself and lets no outside authority in. Who controls them now? The Office of Legal Counsel at the Department of Justice, the National Security Council staff, and FEMA collectively maintain what is called the COG infrastructure, continuity of government. The specific PEADs are managed by the National Continuity Programs Directorate. Members of Congress, including members of oversight committees, have been denied access to the full document set. In 2020, the Brennan Center for Justice filed FOIA requests for the PEADs. The government acknowledged their existence. It refused to release a single page. Here is what the unclassified outlines suggest they contain. PEADs reportedly authorized the president, during a declared emergency, to suspend passport issuance, restrict interstate travel, seize control of domestic communications including the internet and broadcast media, and detain American citizens without trial. The legal foundation is a doctrine called inherent executive power. The argument that Article II grants the president authority Congress cannot constrain when national survival is at stake. That doctrine has never been definitively rejected by the Supreme Court. In 1942, the court upheld the detention of Japanese Americans by executive order without any act of Congress. In 2004, in Hamdi v. Rumsfeld, the court acknowledged the government's power to detain citizens designated as enemy combatants without charging them with a crime. The PEADs build on that floor. They are not hypotheticals. They are pre-authorized, pre-signed versions of the same power, drafted in advance, waiting for the declaration that triggers them. You do not have to do anything to be affected. You just have to be present when the switch is thrown. Remember, no one voted for this. And here is the part that should actually worry you: it is completely legal. There is no law to repeal because PEADs are executive directives, existing inside executive authority alone. Congress cannot eliminate them. Any bill doing so would require a presidential signature, and no president has ever agreed to surrender the framework. Courts cannot strike them down. They are classified, never litigated, invisible to any plaintiff who might challenge them. The Brennan Center found that some of these documents have not been reviewed in decades, meaning the emergency powers currently on file were written by officials who are dead, under threat scenarios that no longer exist, for a world that no longer operates. The directives outlived the crisis that justified them. They simply stayed. This tells you something about every institution you assume is accountable. Oversight bodies, congressional committees, inspectors general, federal courts, operate on the premise that the information they need will eventually be accessible. PEADs reveal that the executive branch built a parallel authority structure specifically designed to be invisible to those bodies. If one policy architecture can survive fully outside democratic review for 78 years, the question is not whether others exist. The question is how many, and whether anyone inside them still knows why they were built. The national security apparatus has a documented record. CONTLPRO, MKUltra, the warrantless surveillance program disclosed in 2013, programs that ran for years before anyone outside knew to ask. So here is what neither of us can answer. If the emergency were declared tomorrow and the PEADs activated, who would tell you? Not the president, it's classified. Not Congress, they don't have the documents. Not the courts, there is nothing filed to challenge. The system was designed so that by the time you knew it was running, it would already be done. And the people who built it called that a feature.